I started Georgia Street Design with no background in interior design. For years and years and years, when I went to college, I thought that I was going to sell real estate. My mom sells real estate. Just knew that's what I was going to do. Got out, started working in real estate. I'm not sure if it was working with my mom or working in real estate that I didn't love, but it wasn't my thing. It's a lot of problems. I don't know how you guys do it. But then I started an event space thinking that I want to do wedding planning. Loved my event space, did not like working with brides. So kept kind of working on, okay, what is my thing? And what I found from that was redoing this building was a lot of fun, actually. I found a lot of like inner peace in doing that and kind of creating something pretty. So couple years into doing that, my mom said, I have a client that is moving here from California. She isn't selling her house in California. She's looking for an interior designer. I still remember where I was in the car with her. I was like, Mom, not an interior designer. I don't know where you're going with that. And she was like, well, just meet with her. She's like, you may, she's not looking for anybody fancy. I think you might really get along with her. So I did. I met with her. She's my first client. Loved her. She had no budget. She had 4,000 square feet. She let me do whatever I wanted to do with her house. She was the best first client ever. So I took that. I had it photographed because I was like, well, I'm going to start a portfolio with this. It's kind of fun. I think I did a great job. Everybody else seemed to think I did a good job. And the girl that photographed the house for me, a good friend of mine, her mom ended up hiring me to do her house. And then one of the people that worked for my first client, she ended up coming over for a dinner party. She hired me to do her house. So a lot of my business in the beginning was just referral business for years and years. And then I kind of started to grow to the point where I needed people to come on board and come help me to do this. So as that took place, we started to grow, like getting my own furniture accounts and doing things like that. But then it was like social media, like boom, and Instagram just kind of became our thing. So for years, we've just been working on like building that and making it, the face of our business, which is really what it has become. I love familiar faces. They make me feel so good. So, but anyway, so from here, what I just want to explain a little bit about is I've kind of self-taught with this. I've learned a little bit from people that I've hired to do Instagram for me over time, what works, what doesn't work. We are really interactive with our followers and the people that we follow. So we've kind of asked them questions over time. What are you looking for? What do you want to see more of? A lot of people say before and afters. We've started to kind of incorporate that through stories. So I'll talk a little bit about that. They've also said, I want to see more Meredith, which is very flattering. But not just your house, but we want to know more about like, what do you like to do? Who are you? Your personality behind your brand, not just like your every single finished product of a house, because maybe you're a DIYer and you just want kind of some inspiration with your space, but over time we've just kind of learned what people want, and I think that's really important, to be interactive with your followers. But to start small, if you don't have an Instagram account or if you just recently started it, I just want to tell you a little bit about what I've found is the best way to start your account, or maybe you don't need an Instagram account, and we'll talk about that for your business and why I feel like maybe your personal account could work for both. Creating your Instagram account. I think this is huge. 30 to 40 photos ready to post. Don't start your Instagram account, post one photo, post 3, 4, because if I click on your account from that, it's a popularity contest. Immediately, you're just not legit. So if you're going to start your Instagram account, it needs to be ready to go with 30 or 40 photos. Maybe you don't hashtag those out at the time, and I'll talk more about hashtags. But get it set up, get it ready. Consider buying followers and likes to create, again, that legitimate page. So I don't know how much anyone before me talked about buying followers or buying likes, but that's a real thing. Because again, popularity contest. Somebody wants to click on, they want to see how many followers you have, how many likes you have, and then that kind of engages them and makes them feel like you know what you're doing, kind of thing. Remember, Instagram is a highlight reel of the best and prettiest parts of life and business, so be sure to post your best photos. I talk more about this through your stories on Instagram, which I'll kind of break through in a minute. But Instagram is not instant, and that means that you don't just click a photo and just post it to your page. That's kind of where stories have come in now. And stories, I think now, are more prevalent in people's like lives on Instagram than really your pages. A lot of people are not scrolling through your page, they're clicking through your stories. So things have changed through Instagram that I think people need to be aware of. Try starting with the Planology, which I know Lisa's going to talk a little bit more about later, app, and save drafts until your page looks good enough to show your best client. 30, 40 photos goes back to the exact same thing. There are actually websites out there where you can schedule all of your photos to be posted at a certain time. You know, everyone thinks that me, Meredith Biergowski, I'm right behind Georgia Street Design. That's not the case. I actually don't even manage my own account. I have someone who does it for me. She goes through it in a weekly planning process. I look at it on Monday mornings. I say, yes, I approve this. No, I don't like that photo there. No, I don't want that quote there. I don't like this photo of me. Take that off of there. And then we kind of go through it. But it is a draft, and it does take time, and it does take consideration. So it's not just click, 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 let me post this to my Instagram. Because, again, people will unfollow you really quickly if they're bored with your content. Instagram legitimizes your business with the public, and as a popularity contest, be sure to put your best foot forward. Again, same thing. It is, at the end of the day, a popularity contest, and we're always trying to get more followers. So I'm going to ask you to do something that people probably don't ever ask in these situations, but if you can get out your phones and get on your Instagram for a second. And if you're familiar enough to go to your search and put in Georgia Street Design. I'm about to get like 70 followers right now. So once you get to Georgia Street Design, it's all written out, hit follow. And the reason I say that too is just because after this event, I have to leave, I have a meeting, but I'm always available through that. So just message me on that and ask me any questions that you have. If it's in a week, if it's in 2 weeks, if it's in 3 months, and you're like, hey, what did you say about that? What were you thinking about this? Or like, hey, I really like that sofa. What brand is that? I'll answer any questions that you have about social media later on down the road. But this is our page. This is where we are right now. And I'm constantly trying to filter, you know, you get some close-up detail shots. You get some spaces that are farther away. We put quotes in there. We have photos of, you know, events that we've gone to, very interactive with different companies, tagging companies, things like that. But I have what we call a sexy business. I have an easy Instagram business. I have lots of pretty photos of, you know, pretty rooms and pretty events that we go to and things like that. So we will talk about if your business is not sexy, how do you make it appealing? Because I think for me, it's not so hard to build a portfolio of attractive things. So first things first, your profile picture. This is something, in my opinion, it just shouldn't change. I think once you put it on there, and I think once you put your brand out there, this is not a photo that's changing ever, because you really want people to identify with your brand and with your company. When they scroll through, they see that. Immediately, if they're interested in your business, they're going to click on that. They're going to look through your photos. If it's changing all the time, they don't keep up and they don't pay attention. So a good idea to use your logo, again, to identify with people. People's faces, the photo's so small, it's a little bit hard to do that. There's one person, she's a stylist, so maybe she wants to use herself. Jenny's Ice Cream, for instance, you know, it's a widely recognized thing at this point. I probably shouldn't change it to an ice cream cone. Your bio. This is another important thing right here. Maybe you could make it like a little bit catchy, but I think it's important to get people's contact information, because they may not be clicking to your website, but they may literally be coming off of Instagram. I have a lot of new clients that actually message me on Instagram. Messaging is not something that I've talked about in here that I have a slide for, but if you're on Instagram for your business, you need to be checking your messages all the time. We get questions daily, probably 10 or 15 questions, not necessarily about new inquiries or things like that, but companies that want to share our photo on Instagram, which if we were just not checking that for weeks at a time, then we may be missing that opportunity. So we do have a lot of back and forth with that. And then just, we have recently had something in Charlotte agenda, so if you have any links to some accreditation or something like that that you want, some articles, or if we're featured in a magazine, sometimes we'll change that link, but that's about the only thing that's changing in my bio ever. So again, tells followers how to contact you, give people a better idea of what you do. So many of these I see as like missed opportunities. Just people don't have enough information in them, or they have the wrong information. Stories. Before I start on stories, because I could talk about these all day long, does anybody have any questions so far just about kind of like the page and the setup and anything else that we've talked about? That's a great question. One of my old neighbors, I lived on Georgia Street in Concord, her husband came up with Georgia Street Design. His wife created my logo. So, yeah, no big, huge firm or anything like that. Anything else? Another question? But I can give you her contact information if you like it. She's good. So stories, I think these are important. I really do think the Instagram is moving towards stories. They're really quick. They pop up on your phone. They last for, I think, about 5 seconds. They disappear after 24 hours. There are ways to save those. If you feel like you're adding some really good photos to your stories and you want that to stick to your profile, then you can do them. You can add them to your highlights page. There's a lot going on with Instagram. I know this is a lot of information, and I'm so used to it, I can just talk about it so freely, but I'm very happy to answer any questions later on if you get confused about what is what. Finished versus under construction. So most days I'm on a job site. I do a lot of renovations, and I don't dress like this. They're not pretty, right? They're messy, they're muddy, whatever. I'm not going to post that on my Instagram, but I need people to know that I do renovations and that I do new construction. So this is a good place for me to put that. So many friends I go to concerts with, I love this. I don't want to use the Porta-John. I'm like, I use one of those like 3 times a week, people. It's fine, they're good. But so posting that in your life, funny things like that. You know, we'll do stories to post a Porta-John, like, well, this is where we were today, inside of a renovation project or a remodel. But that's not going to go on my actual feed for a project. So right now, trying to save drafts and upload together. Again, that whole Instagram's not instant, even with your stories. You could really space these together so that if you're doing one project or you want to show like multiple pieces of your day, they're all running together so the person stays engaged all the way through of your stories. You're not posting something, then an hour or two later, posting something again, but they all kind of flow together, that consistency. How many is too many? With stories, if I see a bunch of little tiny dots, I have clicked you over and gone over to the next thing. If I click on your page and immediately it's your face this close and you're talking to me and your sound is on, I've gone over to the next page. So I think they're a way to start those. If you are going to talk and do videos on your Insta stories, I think the first thing that you post needs to be like, hey, listen to what's going on in my day. Somebody knows that they're getting ready to do that. If they don't want to do that, they can swipe. But immediately, if you're in a crowded situation and your phone goes off and somebody's screaming in your ear, you're going to X that out. So that's a little bit about the sound on, sound off. Any videos that I take, they're always sound off. I don't ever keep what's going on in the background with those. So I highly recommend to use that sound off unless you're physically talking to the people. That's just like a nice little function that I think people forget about. Save them to your highlights. That's so that you can still build ideas and concepts. Like sometimes if we're have a project on Eastover, we have a project on Selwyn, or we have a project here, a project there, maybe Myers Park, or you could do them in different ways. I'll keep my highlights from those projects in these little folders so that if somebody wants to see what's going on in my Selwyn project, they can click just to those highlights. And then adding writing, different like animations, things like that, just to make them interesting. The more the merrier in the highlights or in your stories. So this is your highlights. So I will kind of talk through most of these. Something we were talking about the other day in the office, with these right here, this is like a warehouse sale that we had, Society Social. I know I have that little thing, and I forgot about it. So this is like a collaboration that we did with a furniture company, warehouse sale that we had, Idea House, for a show house that we're doing, some styling if somebody's not interested in specifically like an entire room, but they just want to know how we styled a bookcase or a coffee table, that sort of thing in there as well. So you can break these down, but you can also do them by color if you just wanted to have each one as a color. Sometimes people do them and they're just an airplane, if they're doing something on travel. So lots of different ways to kind of make those unique and make them yourself or make them to your own individual business. Sure.
Can you tell the number of rules that you have in those? Like, if I have them correct for people don't actually feel this seems like
I think that your stories and your posts are the most important right now. Tomorrow that could change. They could come up with some new feature where your like highlights are scrolling across your page and they really grab people's attention, but I really don't think they do. Like I was saying, 50% of my business comes from Instagram directly. A lot of times I meet with clients, I'm standing in their kitchen, do you have any photos of inspiration? And they'll say, I feel like a stalker. A lot of my photos are your photos. They'll pull them up and start showing them to me, and they are out of my highlights. I think people are looking at them, but it's when they're more engaged in your actual page. They're maybe at that point like ready to hire you for business, and they just want to look at specific projects or want to get a little bit more in depth, maybe something that they haven't gone to your website yet, kind of thing. But I don't know if you can look, I don't think so though. I don't think you can see how many people have looked at just highlights. Do you know, Lisa? Okay. I've never done that, if you can. Yes. Yeah. You're a bad Instagrammer. Yes. Yes, because you probably have 10 followers. So it doesn't matter. Okay, 25. So if you have just a few followers and no one's really engaged and you're not engaged, then sure, start with that page. But when you become very interactive with it, you need to be consistent with it. And that's when I talk about hiring out to have someone else do it. I literally don't have the time, and I'm too meticulous about it. I'm like, I do not like the way that pillow is looking on that sofa. I wish I had karate chopped that a little different. Somebody who's not looking at it the same way as I am, I just spend entirely too much time. So we'll talk about that a little bit. If you want to be interactive with it, you just need to kind of figure out your boundaries, but you need to stay consistent with how much you post and things like that if you're going to go back to it. Yes. Yes. So you may have it set up that way where it's linked to something different. Right. So your feed, the most important part, right? And this overall page, when somebody initially clicks on your page, is what do your photos look like? What are you taking? So I keep using this word consistent. It's really because it's so important. The color scheme, the lighting, the overall aesthetic of the page. We do a couple different things. Photos of me in different rooms and different spaces. A lot of how I am as far as like quotes, kind of like what I believe in, getting a little bit, I edit those. I mean, they come to me every week with like 20 of these. I'm like, I don't like that. I wouldn't do that. That sounds negative. That sounds bad. Don't put that up there. So I'm very engaged, even though I'm not doing it every day. But with that, it needs to be pretty. It needs to be highlighted, but you need to be posting consistently as well. That doesn't mean that you have to post every day, maybe 3 times a week, or maybe once a week, if that's more of like your group of followers. High quality photos. All of the photos on here are professional. I don't take any of these photos with my iPhone. That's not for every business. If you, and again, if you're in construction, maybe you're just building a page on that Planology app where you're getting inspiration and you're tagging other companies and that sort of thing, and you're trying to show like what your brand is. I think it is important though for it to look professional. So even if you're not taking a professional, it's not necessarily a professional photo, it needs to look very thought out. Yes. Ask me that again. Yes. That's not a collage. It's actually a screenshot of my feed.
Okay, but when you're posting to your feed, do you
Mhm.
like using like collage format?
Mhm.
Getting more pictures in one?
I don't think so. I think maybe every so often you could add that in. I think that could actually be kind of an interesting thing if you have like what's your business?
Well,
Still, are you doing social media for the church?
yeah, we're not using Instagram right now.
Right. So,
It's individual. I don't use it on social, even if I could.
right.
I'm just trying to gauge if Instagram is different. If we're moving through it faster, if I'm trying to get more in front of them at one time,
Mhm.
or if they're taking the time to post.
I think with the collage, I think it could be interesting. Like, let's say you had an Easter egg hunt and you have like 100 photos, and you wanted to do that. Maybe the first page or the first post of that is of the collage. Then people are able to scroll through. So you're doing multiples in that one post, grabbing their attention with the multiples and then individual photos after that. Do you know what I mean by that? Okay. Keep these tips in mind when posting. Know your target audience, who you're trying to reach. Make sure your voice carries through your captions. So I've had a lot of different people run my social media account, and that comes from the fact that in the beginning, my first professional photographer also ran Instagram accounts. So I had her start doing them. Then I hired someone, like my assistant had an assistant, or maybe I had 2 or 3 design assistants. So I was like, we're keeping this in the office because I'm not paying her that much money to do my Instagram. But it kept going back to her. I mean, I joke with her all the time. I'm like, I'm going to let this girl do it. I'm probably going to call you back. Because with that, it was like pretty powder room, like hearts. That's not me. I'm like, you guys have no idea how hard this powder room was to do. I'm more like personality driven. And I wanted that to come through my photos. I wanted people to see that, yes, it's a pretty powder room, but here's Meredith and here's who you're working with and here's a little bit of her personality. So constantly I'm editing just captions. I don't think they all have to be long paragraphs, but I do think your personality needs to come through. So I'm even editing what the captions are on my photos. Find a balance between showing personal details and staying professional. This is a little bit about what I'm talking about with a personal account and your business account. Some businesses, I think, can go back and forth. And instead of telling you what types of businesses, if you just want to ask me, tell me what your business is, and I can give you some insight on what I think would be better, I'm happy to do that. But so many people are mixing so many random things. When people come to Georgia Street Design, and right underneath in my info, it says I'm interior designer, they're looking for photos of pretty rooms. They're not looking for photos of my 3.5-year-old, maybe on Christmas. Maybe it says Merry Christmas from Georgia Street Design, but they're just not looking at pictures of him. But on Meredith Bierogovsky's personal page, everything you see is Creighton Pierce Bierogovsky with his own hashtag. So I think there's a way to separate that. But I think depending on your business, you may be able to achieve both. If you're doing very like an in-home sales consultant business, things like that, you can kind of mix the two that you do. But sometimes I think if you have a personal page, you're very engaged with businesses, and in your personal page bio, it explains what your business is, then I think people could click on that and see what you do, and then they could contact you for that business if they wanted to. If you feel that you don't have the content to keep up with a strictly business account. I can click between on my phone which one I want to go to, but they're not linked. They're not linked. I don't ever touch the Georgia Street Design page. They actually get mad when I do. Because occasionally I'll see in there like post a story, or I'll post a story to mine, and then I'll go over and post it to Georgia Street Design. And the girl's like, gosh, I was going to post that, but you had already done it. So I try to steer clear of Georgia Street Design. It's like if somebody else that's in there, that's what they're doing, that's what they're focusing on, I try to keep that for them. Post about any awards or achievements you've won. This is a big thing for us. Anytime we're in a magazine, that goes directly up there. We just want people to see, the work being published and that sort of thing. We win like best Instagram account, we won like best interior design Instagram account in Charlotte, things like that. That goes up on there. Try not to overpost. I think more than once a day, especially onto your feed. I think your highlights, if you want to do several of those in one day, it's fine. I think 3 posts per week is manageable. You may disagree with me. Sorry. But I just think 3 for me, it's like, unless it's some major national brand like Chanel or something like that, I think in your business, I think 3 is great. Do not overuse hashtags. So making sure they're related to your photo and business. One thing with this is when you post a photo, instead of having long captions underneath with lots of hashtags and do your homework. Figure out which hashtags work. Look at the ones that people are using in Charlotte. Is that Charlotte interior designer? Is that an abbreviation for Charlotte with an interior designer behind it? See what, and you can click on the hashtag to see how many posts there have been with that hashtag. That's a good indication of one that you should be using. That's what people are searching. That's what people are looking for. Don't flood your page with it though, because people don't want to see that after the photo. But I do like to use it sometimes as my first comment. And so instead of it being underneath my photo in the caption, we post it and then we put it as our first comment. Then it kind of does 2 things. It eliminates having that really long post, but it also shows to everyone else that you have 1 comment. So then they're kind of engaged. Wonder what that person said. Well, it was me just giving you some hashtags. Tag other local businesses or businesses related to your post. I cannot tell you how many collaborations and how many reposts we've gotten from doing this. If we post a picture, most every furniture brand in that photo. Oh, I made it. 30 minutes? Great. I wasn't sure how long this was going to last, but apparently I can talk about it for a while. We have done, like, if we post a furniture company, a lot of times they'll repost it on their page. We've had magazines that have come to us for, just randomly, I guess they were searching for a furniture line, saw our photo, and then came back to that national, publications and things like that. It's great to be not only posting and adding those to your comments, but also engaging in their page, telling them how much you love a photo that they did that wasn't just yours. It's not just a me thing. You kind of have to get out there and you kind of have to share the love for everybody's stuff. Editing your feed. I think this is something that people don't realize, but your feed gets stale. And so it's a good idea to go through there sometimes and delete some of your photos that didn't get a lot of likes, didn't get a lot of comments. Maybe they dull out your page. Maybe they're kind of dark. Or they're a quote that you just don't believe in anymore. Just take it off there. Plan ahead. Yeah, it's like they're all positive. One day you're having a bad day, you just delete them all. Plan ahead on the Planology. I firmly believe in this. If you're a planner, I'm not. But they use it in the office and absolutely love it. It's just a way that you don't have the anxiety of like, oh, I need to get a post out today. Like, what am I going to post? Or you're just quickly scrolling to try to find something because you need to post something that day. This way it's already kind of done for you. And it really doesn't take a lot of time. Photo editing, quickly. These are 2 companies that we use. Everything's edited. If it is a professional photo, we do not edit the photo. If you are not planning on using all professional photos, you need to download these apps. You need to lighten your pages. This is the difference. So everything appears like brighter and nicer, and then stay consistent again with the photo filter that you're using. If it's that you find Cloud9 looks the best or Waves is the best, try to stay consistent because they all can have names. I don't know if you're familiar with different light filters, but for us, even with our highlights and with our stories, we like to keep consistent with the same filter. And this is just telling you a little bit more about it, which Lisa will tell you as well. Scheduling times for them to post for you. So we don't even post them, they just post them for us. this is what that breakdown looks like. It's literally a calendar. So it's just showing you an A where you can schedule your stories, B are photos that have not been uploaded to your feed, but are, so that you can kind of mix them around and see how they look. So if maybe I don't like that dining table photo, I can move it over to 3. If I think that the whole page, it lets you really see your entire Instagram, the way it is right now, and then what you're planning to do, and then your current Instagram feed underneath it. So these are just 2 that I think do a really good job. They're not necessarily interior designers or jewelry, makers or a furniture company or anything like that, where they just have tons and tons of stock photo, an orthodontist, and a builder. And these are their projects, but they may not post but every 2 weeks on this or every week, but they've found very well curated photos that are attractive. It's not them on a construction site. But I do know the owner of this company, and their stories are construction sites. So the business account, what I was saying before, again, basically repetitive in the sense that it may be better for you to keep your personal page and put a little bit about your business information and post both if you don't have the content to have a business page. So Instagram's not instant. 3 posts per week, and do not overwhelm your followers. Know your limits. Outsource to someone in your office. Outsource, outsource, outsource. If you're not good at it, have someone that do it for you. I found that I can go in a fabric room, literally in the workroom, and put a design together for your living room in very little time. I'm not going to tell you how little. But this would take me all day. This is just not my strong suit. I'm not good at this because I overanalyze it. I think about it too much. I don't know what the caption should be. So if that's the case, you should have someone do it for you. Be interactive with your followers. Consistency is key. That's it. So,
Anybody have questions for Meredith? So, the stories are 5 seconds, is that right?
they're 5 seconds. They last for 24 hours.
So when you said words, anybody, do you have an idea about how, when you said writing, how much writing? Because you can't read, people put long tirades, you can't read that.
You can put your finger. Yeah, if you put your.
I don't want to. If I'm
Right. Then you just click to the next. You just put your finger and you click to the next.
I don't want to offend somebody about it, it's too much writing.
Right. And I think that's how much can you read? Follow yourself. Like, how much do you feel like is too much? If you're kind of looking at it, maybe a quick little, what you can read in 5 seconds, if that's what appeals to you. Because I'm right there with you. If it's long, I can't even think. Possibly. Right. It probably doesn't need to be there. And that's actually something that Facebook is not fancy. Instagram is. Yeah. Facebook, you post that quick photo on your phone. You got all your friends from high school. Everybody's looking at it. But Instagram is a little more curated.